What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Demos Gaming, and today we're going to be doing a short video on how to create modlets in 7 Days to Die. Specifically, we're going to be talking about how to make some adjustments to loot, and I think ultimately I'm going to turn this into a video series that goes over various things that you can mod in 7 Days to Die. I've been wanting to do a video on this for a while, and you know, once I started thinking about it, I was like, actually I could turn this into pretty much a whole series, and just put out videos from time to time on different subjects. If you have any suggestions of some things that you would specifically like to see, or things that you're just not sure how to do in modding, you know, just let me know in the comments and I will see if I can cover it in a future video. But today we're just going to be getting started. So the couple things that you're going to need are going to be Notepad++ for starters. This is a free program. It just makes it a lot easier to mod things. It's color coded. There's a lot of really helpful things that you know, are just going to help you mod things easier with Notepad++ as opposed to just using the regular Notepad on Windows. So grab yourself a copy of this. It is completely free. You can make a donation if you'd like, and I think it would be totally worth it, honestly, because this is a great program. We're just going to make a brand new mod here, but before we do that, we actually do need to locate where the mods are in 7 Days to Die. First things first, and actually let's go through the whole process because I've shown this in other videos, but let me show it here. So if you right click on 7 Days to Die, right click, go to Properties, and then you're going to want to go to Local Files, and then you're going to want to browse Local Files. So what it's going to do, I already have it pulled up, but it's going to pull this up here. So the two places that you're going to want to go are into your mods folder. By default, I don't believe that the newer versions of 7 Days to Die have this folder yet. I think we've generally always had to create this folder. But create yourself a mods folder, put it in here. One thing that may change in the future, and I will update this once they do it, is this mods folder is actually going to change its location, and that may happen in Alpha 21. I'm not sure exactly when they're going to do that, but this location will change down the road, so just keep an eye out for whenever they do that. First things first, though, we're going to go into Data, Config, and then all that we're going to do is we're going to pull up loot. So essentially, this is the main file that basically controls all of the loot in 7 Days to Die. So whenever you open up a cupboard or trash or an airdrop or anything like that, this is where all that stuff comes from, and making any modifications to this will change how that works in the game. You can actually make adjustments to this folder directly, but as updates come out, it's going to reset it. So any changes that you would make in here, it would change it every single time the game gets updated. So the way that we avoid that is by creating a separate mod file that will allow us to make some adjustments from a separate area. The only issue you might run into is an update might get rid of something that you had referenced in the mod, so you may have to change that if the game gets updated. So anyway, we have this pulled up here, so let's go ahead and downsize that. And then what we're going to want to do is go to our mods folder. Like I said, if this is not created, then you'll want to create this mods folder. Just call it mods, go into it. Nothing in here right now. And then we're going to create a new mod. So we'll just call it my mod. You can call it whatever the hell you want, but we'll just call it my mod in this case. And then everything that we do for my mod is going to go in here. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab something from another mod that I've created already that just kind of gets me started and gets me going so I don't have a lot of work right off the bat. Okay, so I have just copied this over from another mod that I created, and as you can see, it has a bunch of things written in here and has some stuff up here. What I'm going to do is, with all the mods that I'm creating, I'm just going to put it in a Google Drive and share it in the video, so that way you all will have access to this, and then you can bring in your own stuff. You can create your own mods and just kind of use this as a template so that you have a starting point. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to call this my mod, and under the description I'm just going to say changes to loot and other other stuff. We'll just say that, because over time we'll change it. Version, we'll just change that to 1. You can put in your name for the author. Website, if you have a website that, you know, it goes to, you can put that in. But essentially, here's what you want it to look like. Go ahead and save that. I always just hit Command S as I'm going through and doing this stuff just so that gets saved, and then we are done with that. We don't need that one anymore. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a new folder in here, and basically you would just right-click, go to New and Folder, and we're going to call this Config. So what you want this to do is you want it to kind of look the same way. Like if you go into Data and Config here, this is where all of the files are that control kind of how the game works. So you want that to say the same thing. Just you go into your mod, and then you just have a folder that says Config. Now in here is going to be your modded files. Okay, and I'm just going to create a new file in here. Right-click again, hit New. We're just going to call it a text document. We're going to say loot on this because that's what we want to make an adjustment to. And then it's going to be .xml. And if it'll say this, but yeah, no, that's fine. Just change that. And then, as you can see, by default, XML files will pull up for me in Notepad++. That's just kind of a default that I made for this particular file type. So if we right-click on this, then we have a completely blank slate at this point. So here's what we want to write in first. We want to write in one of those guys, and we're just going to say loot. Whoops. And we want to put another one on the other side. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to go through and explain every little bit of this because honestly, there's a lot of aspects of this I don't remember myself. I'll try and explain as much as possible, but just understand that the goal of this is more just to kind of show you how like I would make a mod in 7 Days to Die, and not so much about like, you know, here's how all this language and coding works, because I think at the end of the day, a lot of people aren't super interested in that. They just want to know, hey, how do I make a mod? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that / and say loot again, and then we're just going to kind of finish it on the other side, and then this is good to go. Okay, so let's go ahead and save it. So now we have kind of the inner workings, and then anything we put in between that and that. And as you can see, if you click on that, it actually shows, they both show up in purple. So I think actually if I was to do that, yeah, then they wouldn't anymore. So, but essentially what I'm saying is like, I'm starting my statement up here and I'm ending my statement down here, and then anything in between is the mod itself. And it looks the same in here. Like if you go over to this one, this is the 7 Days to Die one, and it says loot containers there at the top, and then all the way at the bottom it should say loot containers again. Yeah, and it does the same thing in here. So anyway, here's what we're going to do. Essentially, we're going to make it to where mining helmets are easier to find in loot. So here's how we're going to do that. First things first, we're going to find out where mining helmets are referenced. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say mining. And just do a search for that. And sorry, just to explain that, I'm going to hit Control F and then find what mining, and then say find all in all open documents. And actually, to narrow it down a little bit, I'm going to say find all in current document. That's just like, if you start putting stuff in here, once you put in the word mining helmet, if you click on the find all in all open documents, it'll find it in both and might get a little bit confusing. So what we're going to want to do is, you can see there's a bunch of stuff that references mining helmets, but this is what we're looking for, armor mining helmet. So the first place where it's referenced is in the playtest box. I'm not even sure what that is, but we'll go down and see if we can find it again somewhere else. Okay, so the first place that this particular item is referenced is in Group Quest Armor T2. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to find out where cars are, like find out how cars work, and I'm just going to make it to where it's really, really easy to find helmets in cars specifically. So you could go around and just like, you know, a lot of the cars you open, you'll find mining helmets. So let's do that. So we're going to do a search for cars. And group cars 01, so this is car loot. Let's actually come down here. Essentially, whenever you loot a car in the game, this is all the way at the bottom of the folder, or this file, by the way. The loot ID is 19, okay? So essentially, every single time you open up a car, what it's going to do first is it's going to come into group ID 19. Okay, item group is group cars. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to find group cars, okay, and that's group cars is up there. Okay, so this is what we're looking for here. So then what it's going to do is it's going to go into this loot group, group cars, and then it's going to start kind of working through these to find out what it's actually going to pull out. This is set to count all, so what it's going to do is it's actually going to pull, it's definitely going to pull one from here. If it's set to count all, it's definitely going to pull one from here. Now, the loot probability template, what this means is that in here, it's going to, you have kind of a low chance of it pulling something out of this particular one here. I think that actually levels up like as you go through the game and you get to a higher loot stage. But right now it's set to low, so it may or may not pull anything out of this particular category here. And then you have, and that's group cars 02, and then group cars 03, this has a very low chance of getting pulled out. And the force probability is just to make sure that it definitely follows this rule here of low chance or very low chance. And actually, we'll come back to this, but if you look up here, you can actually see how that works. Very low, low. It's like 5% chance, 20% chance, 35% chance, so on and so forth. So guaranteed means it has a probability of 1, so you're guaranteed to get that. If you don't have to put in guaranteed though, technically you could just write this, and this will guarantee that you're going to pull something out of here for the group cars. So anyway, group cars 01, so that's that. And actually, let's see, what's in group cars 01 again? So we have group junk, no BMATs. I'm not sure what that is, and group automotive. And as you can see in here, the loot probability for this is high. This one's kind of low. So chances are what'll happen with this is it's usually going to pull something out of this. But it may pull something out of the low probability one as well. What we're going to do is we're going to make an adjustment to this, the car loot 01, and we're going to make it to where in here it's really, really easy to get a mining helmet, but we're going to ultimately do that over in this section here. Now, one thing that you're going to get used to when you're doing any kind of modding is copying and pasting things. I went back to another mod that I created, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the information from here, the Append XPath, using this particular command, and I'm going to copy and paste it in here. This is why I'm putting this up on Google Drive, so that if any of you want to be able to start getting into modding, you can just copy and paste this stuff in here and you don't have to worry about creating it yourself. So now, all that we're going to need to do in this case is we're going to have to make some adjustments to some parameters, because for right now, what it's going to do is it's going to change information about, I could actually technically save this, and this would immediately work as a mod. We could get this working. Pretty sure. I would have to log in. I'd have to go into the game and make sure it is working, but make sure there's no like errors or anything like that. And the game will tell you if there's an error in your mod. Anywho, we just need to change some of the parameters here. So I just copy and paste this. This is what your syntax should look like when you're doing the append command. And basically what the append command does is it changes things like an already existing line of code or lines of code. It just goes in and it appends it. It makes an adjustment to that particular line of code. So essentially what we're doing is we're going to add something into this. Basically, we're going to kind of essentially like if we were to add another line of code right below this, that's essentially what we're going to be doing here. It's just we're not adding it to the original file, we're adding it to a mod so that, like I said, it doesn't get rid of our work when the game updates. What I'm going to want to do is we have loot containers, and then we actually want to use loot group, I believe is our command. We don't want to use loot container, we want to change this to loot group. So let's go ahead and change this to loot group here. And then the loot group, what we're going to do is we're going to change this, I think, to name. So, okay, so loot group name. So the reason why this says ID right now is, once again, if we go all the way to the bottom here, we get down to these actual, this is the actual thing where, you know, like in this case, garbage trash pile. You know, whenever you open up a pile of trash, it goes to the ID number 10, pulls up group junk, and then there's probably a bunch of other references to group junk up there. And that's why we're doing ID. But no, we want to reference these. Okay, so these are the actual loot groups in the game that those IDs down at the bottom reference. Okay, so we're going to change this from ID to name. Okay, and we have that bracket there at name equals, you want to have one of, you don't want to do the double, you want to just have the one dude there. And then the loot group name that we're looking for is, I believe, we're going to do group cars 01. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this right here. Okay. And we're just going to paste it right in there and hit save. And then you want to make sure that the rest of your line looks like this. Once you have it looking like this, you have you know, your little dudes there, you know, at the beginning and the end. And make sure you have all that, because if you're missing any of these little pieces, it's not going to work. If you're missing anything, it'll screw up the whole mod, and you'll just get a ton of errors. So just make sure that your syntax looks like this when you're done. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to grab, let's go find mining helmet again. Okay, so the way that this mining helmet works, let's go ahead and copy it. Hit Control C and Control V. We're just going to get rid of this line here. Boom. Okay, so the way that the mining helmet works in this case is we have our item name, armor mining helmet. And technically, we could end it right there. We could take this little piece here, and we could just bring it back there and end it. Now, the way that this one works is the mining helmet comes with a mod installed on it, and it's a mod Armor Helmet Light. Specifically, it has a mod chance of 1. So what it's saying is that when you find this helmet, it's definitely gonna have a mod on it, and it's gonna be a helmet light. So you could actually change this mod chance to be something like 0.5. So that means that there's only going to be a 50% chance that mod shows up on it. You could go even lower if you wanted, like a 10% chance or a 1% chance. You know, you can do whatever you want as far as that's concerned. But we're going to set it for 1. So this means that there's going to be a 100% chance that this mod will definitely show up in this mod helmet if you find it. So here we go. We're going to hit save on that. So this should be good to go at this point. So we have append XPath, loot containers, loot group, and then we just have the name, group cars 01. This is what we're going to find in it, okay? And then we have our end here, you know, to append it. So anything that we put in here is going to add to this here. And then that's really it. That's all that we're going to do for right now. Now, I'm not setting this to a loot probability, so it's what'll happen in that case is it'll be very likely that we will find this regularly in cars. And actually, it's going to make it to where a lot of the times when you open up a car, you're going to find this. Probably, most likely. We'll see. But anyway, let's go ahead and hop into the game and make sure that our mod works, make sure that we don't have any errors in our syntax, and give that a shot. One thing to keep in mind is, you see how you have group cars down here and it references group cars 01? We're down a little bit farther in the file. If we go up to group 01, okay, that's up, it looks like it's right above it. Yeah, so it's right above it. Anytime that you have a loot group here that references another loot group, make sure that the loot group it's referencing is up higher in the file, because if you were to take group cars 01, delete it from here and put it down here, you're going to immediately get an error, because it'll say it's going to go from the file from top to bottom, and if it gets here and it's like, oh, group cars 01, I can't find it up here, you'll get an error, and the loot will not work. It won't load this file in. So make sure any loot groups you're referencing, or any items or anything like that, are referenced up here and not below it. Otherwise, it won't work. And it's always a good idea to start a new game when you're testing out a new mod. Don't try to go to an old game world, because it can screw some things up. Alright, so we're in a new game. Let's actually check this car here and see if it shows up right away, or see if we have to check multiple cars. I'm really just checking to see how likely it is for us to find a mining helmet. Okay, so far, no mining helmet. Let's keep looking. Okay, this is car number 2. Let's see what we have. Nope. Alright, this is car number 3 that the zombie is currently beating away at for whatever weird reason. And there's our mining helmet. So, it only took 3 cars for us to find one. So, just to check, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep looking to see how many other mining helmets we can find. Okay, this one's number 4. Let's see if we got a mining helmet. Okay, we also found a mining helmet. Okay, this is car number 5. No mining helmet in there, okay. Okay, this is car number 6. And no mining helmet. Okay, so far, out of 6 cars, we found 2 mining helmets. So we currently have a probability of about, 33% to find a mining helmet. And that's actually seems to be fairly accurate, because there was about 3 different things in Cars 01, and it was, you know, pretty likely that you would find something in Cars 01. So let's check this one as well. Sorry, I'm kind of just flying around right now, just checking to see what the odds are. So the odds are maybe a little lower at this point. Are these cars lootable? This one's lootable. Let's see what we got. Okay, so this is number 8. Okay, that's a number 9. So, yeah, so let's see. I think the odds are still kind of sitting around about 33%. Okay, so I'm pretty satisfied with the results there. So essentially what we've done is we've made it to where it's about, you have about a 33% chance to find a mining helmet in a car. Now, what you could do is you could always change the probability of you finding one and make it a little bit lower if you feel like that's a little bit too often. So let's actually hop out for a second and let's change that. So one way that we could just completely change the probability of this is by adding in a little reference here to, you know, just the basic probability of us finding this. So what we're going to do is we're going to write prob equals, throw in one of those, and then we're going to write in, yeah, let's go with maybe like 50% chance, okay? So just kind of end your quotation there, and then we're good to go. So essentially, we've made it a 50% chance of finding this out of, you know, what was the already kind of probability of being 33%. So and by doing this, we're not making it more likely that we're going to find it. We're probably making it less likely that we're going to find it in this particular case. Because without the probability, I think it's kind of random. So I don't know. This could end up making it a little more likely, but I have a feeling it would actually be less. And that's something that you kind of have to play with. Usually when I'm messing around with loot, I kind of have to do a lot of testing to see, you know, how likely it's going to be. You could also use these loot probability templates as well, and you could maybe you could set that to high or very high. Let's see. Let's actually see what the options are. There's okay, so really high is like, oh, it's like a 75% chance. So yeah. So we're probably making it to where it would be less likely that you would find a mining helmet. Play with it until like it kind of works the way that you want it to work. And what you would do at this point is just hop back into the game that you're in and just keep looking for cars that you haven't looted yet. You don't need to start a new game every time. It's just whatever world you're making those adjustments to, you want to make sure that you either keep using the same world or create a new world every once in a while. Just don't use an already existing world that maybe has other mods in it or is completely vanilla, because like I said, you could potentially screw something up and make that world corrupt and unusable, and you don't want to do that. So that's basically it. This is a real basic mod on how to make it more likely to find mining helmets and loot. What I will do is I'll go ahead and throw this in the Google Drive just so that you have it, and then you have access to kind of the syntax, and you can start playing around with this. And then all you have to do is change little things here and there. Change the name to a different loot group, you know, add more things to it, and you can continually keep adding this, you know, just go down, add another one. These don't necessarily have to line up. I just kind of like them to line up there. And I could change that to group Cars 02 because I think there was one for that as well. Okay, and we can keep, you know, adding things to it. We can change this to be something completely different, like, you know, a gun, you know, a shotgun or something like that. You can do whatever you want. You can get rid of the probability. I could do this, make the probability 1, and then it's like guaranteed to find a helmet in there. So in fact, I'll leave that as is. And yeah, feel free to go in and use this append command and make some adjustments to it. So in future videos, what I'll do is I'll show you how to get into using some of these different kind of loop probabilities a little bit more. And then we'll also get into using different types of syntax. This is once again an older mod of mine, and we can learn how to use the set command. We can learn how to use the insert before command. There's all kinds of really cool things, and you can create your own loop groups if you want. There's all kinds of really cool stuff that we can do, but yeah, I'll do that in a future video. For right now, this is just how to use the append command and how to get started with doing mods in 7 Days to Die. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, and if you enjoyed this kind of content, then absolutely explode that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. So I hope this video was helpful for you. Once again, shoot me a comment if you have any suggestions of some things I should cover in a future video. Thanks so much. Peace.